Okay, so today is August 18th. We are going to be talking a little bit more about measurements here in this ICP class. So make sure you are still taking your notes on these and just follow along with your notes. Should be pretty easy as we go through this, or at least should be easy to follow along with. Um, Notice we are starting with prefixes here. So you should be on page 12. And we're going to go over those prefixes, make sure you have the correct units on those. Okay. So prefixes are used to avoid very large or very small numbers. So for instance, I don't want to, like if I have to write out 1,000,000 of something, I'd rather use a prefix and have just one of that prefix, or even thousands. We can use prefixes to write smaller numbers, and sometimes smaller numbers are easier to understand. So they attach to each unit name, for instance, milli onto milligram. So the prefix here would be this milli. Gram, if you remember, we talked about is the SI, or one of the units for mass. So we do use mg. So if you look at your notes and you find milli, you might want to put an m, a small m, beside it. So here are all of them. Just going down the list, we have the largest one we're going to talk about is mega. I don't use mega all that much. Where you might see mega is megabyte, and that can kind of help you remember some of these as they're going up. You add 3 zeros or another 1,000 to each one as you go up from here. So mega, giga, and tera. The only reason I know those again is because of bytes. There would be another 3 zeros on there. So big M for mega. Kilo, the small k, is 1,000 units. Where I use this the most is in kilometer. Again, that's because I'm a runner. So, for instance, cross-country courses are typically 5 kilometers or 5,000 meters. So that should be, if you are a runner, that should be a pretty easy conversion for you. Then we do have hecto. Hecto is H. That is 100 of these base units. 100 base units. I don't use hecto or deca all that much, but we still gotta make sure we know these. So hecto is a small h. Deca is 10 units, and that is a DA, small d, small a. And those are all larger than the base unit. Now they separate these out because right here would be the base unit, where one base equals one unit. That's why they kind of separate these out. These are all smaller. So you notice the ones are on this side. Now the numbers are on this side. So that means the unit, whatever the base unit is now larger than the prefix. So these are small prefixes. So going down, deci is a small d. That is 1/10 of the base unit. Um, so, yeah, deci I don't use all that much anyway. Centi and milli, though, I do. So centi is 1/100th of a base unit. Where you might see this most is centimeter. So you might see that quite a bit in centimeter. Remember, there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and so that's kind of how you can help you remember this. Milli is a small m. There's 1,000 milli units in 1 unit. So for instance, there's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. Then you start getting to micro and nano. Micro looks like a U. It's actually the Greek letter mu. So That's the only really weird unit. It looks like a U, but it's really Greek. Just slightly different. You can put down just a U and I'll know what you mean. And there are 1,000,000 micros in one unit. So you're talking 1/1,000,000th of a meter is a micrometer. And then even smaller, if I can actually move that out of the way, even smaller is a nano. And instead of it being a million, it is a billion units smaller. Where we start getting micro and nano is when we're talking about like the size of an atom, wavelengths, and stuff like that. So that's where we'll get to micro and nano. Okay. So remember the units, the space units can be meters, grams, liters, or seconds. You can use any of those with any of these prefixes. So it all depends on what you are measuring. So in metric conversions, you write down given number and unit. So for instance, if I say, hey, I want to run, I'm going to use cross country again, I want to run 5 kilometers in X amount of time. How fast am I going? You would write down the given number, which is 5, and the unit is kilometers. And I'll draw, actually maybe I should do this differently. How far is 5 kilometers? There you go. So you write down the given number and the unit, draw a picket fence, use a chart to fill in appropriate conversion factors, making sure matching units are on opposite sides of fence to cancel out. And then multiply the top line across and the bottom line across, and divide the top by the bottom. You might be a little confused on this. Just writing it out, you should see it in your notes as well. But let's give an example here just so you can kind of have an idea. There is a picket fence. So that's my picket fence here. So how many meters are there in 48 kilometers? So first thing we do, write down the given number and unit. Then we have a picket fence here, so we just let it write a line. And we know it's going to be one on top of the other. And then we're going to draw another picket fence here just because we know we don't want that separated with something else. Go write it out. But we know, okay, if we go back to our conversions here, kilometers, if I have kilometers, opposite kilometers is that conversion factor that we had earlier. So I go back to looking at my notes, kilo, there's 1 kilo per 1,000 meters. So I just make sure that kilo is opposite, and then whatever is equal to that is on top. So that's where I got these from. Again, you can, or actually from that you can cancel out the kilometers because one on top of the other, that's just like 8 divided by 8 is still 1. If I multiply them by 1, it's still the same thing. So that's why they're getting rid of kilometers here. And so you can now multiply the top and multiply the bottom. Now the bottom's easy, that's just 1. The top, 48 times 1,000, which is 48,000. And now that we have the top and bottom just on 1, you now divide. So 48,000 divided by 1 is 48,000. And we just have our 1 unit left, which is meters. So it's 48,000 meters. Do not forget the correct units at the end. So make sure you have all of this written down in your notes, or at least as best as you can. Okay, how many kilograms are there in 45,456 milligrams? So again, this is in your notes. So you write down what you are given, the number you were given, plus the units given, which is milligrams. And then we draw our picket fence. Now I know I'm going to be going a couple steps here. I don't have anything good going from milligrams straight to kilograms. And so because of that, I going to draw a little bit longer line here. In fact, there's going to be 2 different conversions that we use. And so let's see, milligrams will be on bottom. So we look back at our conversions, our practice. We have milligrams on one side. Milli is 1,000 to 1 base unit. Our base unit, remember, is grams. So it's grams on top, milligrams on bottom. And so we have those units. Now we can cancel out, oh, maybe not yet. So we cancel out the milli on both sides. So we just have grams. From there, we need to go from grams to kilograms. Now, grams is going to be on bottom, kilograms is going to be on top. So we have that 1 kilogram on top, and 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. Okay? So then we can start canceling out some of these other units so that we are only left with kilograms. Now again, multiply the top, so 45456 times 1 is 45456. 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000. So now we have to take 45456 kilograms divided by 1,000,000. That will give us 0.045456 kilograms. So that's how many kilograms we have with this amount of milligrams. Okay. Now this does say practice. If you want to try them, you can. But what I'm going to have you guys make sure you have these. Be using this method more than anything else. So we'll talk about the practice from the other one. We might do the practice here today during our Zoom. So that is it for today. So have a good rest of the day.